Hello friends, Mark Peotter here. Today we are going to talk about transposing instruments. They think they're playing one note, but it's actually a different note. And that's a transposed instrument. The word transposed just means from one place to another place. In music, it means from one pitch to a different pitch, or from one note to a different note. Now on the piano, that's what we call a concert pitched instrument. Concert pitch is another way of saying that it's the real notes. So when you play a C on the piano, it is a C. But many instruments are not like that, and I'm going to show you a few examples. Now, I don't have every transposed instrument at my disposal right now, but I'm going to show you what I do have. This instrument is called the recorder, and of all the instruments that I happen to own, this instrument probably has its origins in the oldest way back time. The fingering, when you press down all of the holes, you think you're playing a C. Well, it's a soprano recorder in C, so yes, you are playing a C. Okay, and that's designated as the middle C on standard notation. This is kind of an unusual instrument. It's a recorder, but it's an alto recorder. So what that means is, when you think you're playing a C, the world is actually hearing an F. The way a lot of these woodwind instruments got started with the whole transposing problem is by this very simple fact. They share similar fingerings. So when you put all your fingers down on a recorder or a flute or a saxophone, and the clarinet is true if it's in the upper register. Anyway, so when you put your fingers down, you think you're playing a C. The flute is a concert pitch instrument. So when you play a C, the world hears a C. On the flute, we cover all of these fingers down and the two down on the right pinky, and you get the lowest C. So on the flute, when you think you're playing a C, you're actually playing a C. This instrument is kind of like the flute's baby brother. It is the piccolo. The piccolo is a full octave higher than a flute, but it is also a concert pitch instrument. The main difference between the piccolo and the flute is that the piccolo does not have a foot joint, and it does not even have the possibility of playing a low C. So the lowest note on a piccolo is a D. But when you play a C on the piccolo, you actually are playing a C because this is a concert pitch instrument. Now this instrument is like the flute's big mama because this flute is an alto flute, and an alto flute is transposed. When you play a C on the alto flute, the world hears a G. This is a B-flat clarinet, and it gets that name B-flat clarinet because when you play a C, the world hears a B-flat. Now remember I was talking about how you close all the keys, including the low pinky key, and then you think you're playing a C? Well, that's only true on the clarinet when you have the register key down so that you're in the higher register. Okay? So you press the register key down, close all of the 7 holes, put the right pinky down, and you get a C. But the world is hearing a B flat. because it's a transposed instrument. This is a B-flat trumpet. That's also a transposed instrument. So when you play a C, the world is hearing a B-flat, not a C. Okay, that first one was the note below middle C, and then the second one was a B-flat above middle C. Guitars are all concert pitch instruments. When you play a C on a guitar, it is a C. Okay, here's a lower C, higher C, higher C. Okay. The only caveat or interesting thing about the guitar is that when you look at the sheet music for a guitar, the sheet music is transposed at the octave. What that means is when you look at the middle C on the guitar, sheet music, you are going to play this note, okay? But in reality, that's not a middle C on the piano. That C is an octave lower than middle C, so we call it transposed at the octave. Don't worry about it. This is a concert pitch instrument, and all guitars are made that way until you detune them to something else. This instrument is the ukulele, or ukulele. It is also a concert instrument, so a C is actually a C. It's not transposed anywhere, so this note here, that's a middle C, and it looks like a middle C on the standard notation when you play the music. Now this instrument's name is the E-flat alto saxophone because when you play a C on this instrument, the world hears an E-flat. Remember what I was talking about with the recorder when we put all of our fingers down, including the first pinky key on the bottom, that we think we're playing a C, right? It's the same thing on the saxophone. So close all your keys down like this, including that low pinky. And that note is an E-flat. I don't have a baritone sax with me right now, but the baritone sax is also in E-flat, and it is exactly one octave lower than an alto sax. So when you play that note on a baritone sax, it's a full octave lower down here. This instrument is the soprano saxophone. It is a higher pitch instrument when compared to the alto saxophone, and it is one full octave higher than a tenor saxophone. The soprano saxophone plays in B flat. So when you play a C on this instrument, it's not a C, it is a B flat. Again, we close all the holes down, kind of like our flute C or the recorder C, and we think we're playing a C, but it's not a C, it's a B flat. This instrument is the tenor saxophone. The tenor saxophone is larger and lower pitched when compared to the alto saxophone. It is a full octave lower than the soprano saxophone. The tenor saxophone is in B flat. So not only does it go a whole step lower than the note you think it is, it's a whole step plus an octave lower than the written note in standard notation. Here we go. So here's a C. But the world hears a B flat. Before we wrap this up, I want to mention some instruments that were not shown today. The bassoon. The bassoon is a woodwind instrument that's fairly low pitched, and it is a concert instrument. The note that it says is the note that you hear. The bass clarinet. The bass clarinet is just like the tenor saxophone because it's also a B flat instrument, and it's also playing a full octave lower plus a step than the written note. The trombone. Well, the trombone is also a concert pitched instrument, but it's interesting to me because when you're closed in position 1, that's a B flat. And so logically, you would think compared to the other instruments that you're playing a C, but trombone players know that that's a B flat. And the similar logic goes with the baritone, the euphonium, and the tuba. So with no valves on, they may be playing a B flat, and it's written as a B flat on their music. So again, all those low brass are not transposed. Now this instrument is a bass guitar. The bass guitar has the same tuning and the same strings like a bass violin from the orchestra, E, A, D, G, and it's in concert pitch. However, the bass is transposed at the octave, just like the guitar was. So when you see a middle C on the music for bass, you're going to play this note, but in reality, it's an octave lower than middle C. Okay? Well, thanks a lot for spending some time with me today and getting into the world of transposed instruments. I hope this was useful or fun for you. See you next time.